Welcome back to This Day in Scottish History. I'm your host, Colin MacDonald. Today, we travel back to March 21st, 1981, to the town of Greenock on the banks of the River Clyde. On this day, 240 determined women walked into their workplace at the Lee Jeans factory, not to start another shift, but to take a stand against its closure. Their protest would become one of the longest factory occupations in Scottish history, lasting an incredible 7 months and symbolising the fight against industrial decline. By the early 1980s, Scotland was in the grip of economic hardship. Traditional industries, shipbuilding, steel, and textiles, were in rapid decline, hit hard by global competition and government policies that favoured privatisation and market deregulation. Factories and mills that had sustained communities for generations were shutting down, leaving workers with few options and entire towns facing economic devastation. The Lee Jeans factory in Greenock, which had been a major employer for women in the area, became one of the casualties of this decline. When the closure was announced, the women working there faced not just the loss of their livelihoods, but also the harsh reality that alternative jobs were scarce. Many had spent their entire working lives sewing denim, and for most, finding new employment would be nearly impossible. But instead of accepting their fate, they decided to fight back. On March 21st, 1981, the women took control of the factory, refusing to leave. Their demand was clear. They wanted Lee Jeans' American parent company, VF Corporation, to reconsider the closure or, at the very least, provide better severance packages. With incredible determination, they transformed their workplace into a symbol of resistance. They took turns keeping watch over the building, sleeping on factory floors, and organising a system of shifts to ensure the occupation continued without interruption. Their protest quickly gained public support. Trade unions, local activists, and politicians voiced solidarity with the women, recognising their occupation as part of a larger struggle against job losses in Scotland. Media coverage brought national attention to their cause, and their resilience inspired other labour movements across the country. Donations of food and supplies poured in from the community, helping the women sustain their fight. Inside the factory, life carried on in defiance of corporate decision making. The women held meetings, strategized their next moves, and maintained a spirit of solidarity despite the uncertainty. Their occupation was not just about saving their jobs, it was about standing up for workers' rights and challenging the economic policies that were devastating working class communities. However, after 7 long months, the occupation came to an end. The factory closure was not reversed, but the women's struggle had not been in vain. Their protest forced the company to improve redundancy payments, ensuring that the workers received better compensation than initially offered. More importantly, their actions left a lasting legacy in the history of Scottish labour movements. The occupation of the Lee Jeans factory was a powerful act of defiance in an era when working class communities were under siege from industrial closures. It demonstrated the strength of collective action and the determination of ordinary people to stand up against economic injustice. Though the factory is gone, the spirit of those 240 women endures as a reminder that resistance, even in the face of overwhelming odds, can make a difference. Thank you for joining me today on This Day in Scottish History. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more about Scotland's remarkable past, check out my blog at bagtownclans.com/thisday. The link is in the description. Tune in tomorrow for another fascinating journey through Scotland's history. I'm Colin MacDonald. Haste you back.